Hello, and thank you for watching. This is Jackson Bleacher's college football best bets for week 4. It's Thursday morning, which means week 4 gets kicked off tonight. Um, with it finally being week 4, that means we're finally right in the thick of the college football schedule for just about everybody's getting into their conference games from now on, other than maybe the second to last week of the season in the SEC. Anyway, we'll have a full slate of conference games every Saturday, and the season is completely here now. Starting tonight through this weekend, the season is completely here. There'll still be a couple of cupcake games, but there will be plenty of games each Saturday that are must-watch games, and I'm excited about that. So far in the 2018 season, if you followed our picks, we are 6-4-1 against the spread, and last week we went 1-1 with a push. So Miami covered the 10.5 points at Toledo easily last week. Hawaii was catching 7, and Army ended up losing by 7, so that was just a push. And then the one loss last week it was a bad beat. Mizzou -7 at Purdue. Tigers were in control of the game for just about the whole game. They let Purdue back in it in the fourth quarter. Even though they let Purdue back in it, Mizzou still had a chance to at least get the push, score a touchdown at the end. They decided not to score the touchdown at the end and just kick the field goal. They actually got the ball inside the 5-yard line and looked like they could have scored at will if they wanted to. They didn't. It was a bad beat. So that was just a bad luck loss. It happens sometimes. You can't help it, but whatever. We'll move on. Still a pretty good season so far, 6-4-1. I will definitely take that. So now with some week 4 picks. The first one, this is actually my favorite one of the whole weekend, is I got it at Washington State plus 3.5 at USC. That line's actually shifted to Washington State plus 4, so it's a better line now if you're on the Cougs. This is the Cougars' first real test of the season, but we know that Mike Leach's offense will put up plenty of points, and we also know that Clay Helton's offense will struggle to put up points, even though Washington State doesn't have the best defense. Wazoo is 3-0. With point totals of 41, 31, and 59. USC, on the other hand, is just 1-2, and they're coming off a blowout loss to a very average Texas team. The Trojans put up some points on the board in week 1 against UNLV, but they were only able to manage 3 points against Stanford 2 weeks ago. And then last week, just 2 touchdowns against Texas, who, again, not a great team. They're not terrible, but not great. I think the Cougs win this one outright, honestly, is my pick for that one. Clay Helton will be sitting squarely on the hot seat after tomorrow night's game. And Washington State definitely has the better offense, the better coach, and honestly maybe even a better defense. USC is the favorite strictly because they are USC. You put the same 2 teams out there, different names, and I think Washington State would be the clear favorite, but because it's USC, no way, USC is the favorite. Because of this, I don't know if I would do it or not, but it's worth considering Washington State on the money line to just win the game outright. I do think they'll win it outright. I don't know if I would pick it. Obviously, it's safer just to take the Washington State plus 3.5, and now if you got it right now, it'd be Washington State plus 4. But if you're feeling a little risky this weekend, maybe late tomorrow night, go Washington State on the money line. Again, that's a Friday night kick. It's not Saturday. It's the late night Friday night game. So that one's one you need to get your picks in early on that one. So moving on to game number 2, we got Michigan State minus 4.5 at Indiana. The Spartans have not had a great start to this season, but I think they're a better team than what they've shown so far. Michigan State had to hang on to win a tough one on opening night. I think that was a Thursday game against Utah State. And they lost a game. They led for almost the entire time in week 2 at Arizona State. But, I mean, the game against the Sun Devils was a scheduled loss. Michigan State had to travel to Tempe. They had to wait around all day and play the last game of the night. Kickoff was not till 10:45 p.m. on their body clocks. Because, remember, Michigan State plays in the Eastern time zone. That game was a 10:45 p.m. Eastern time kick. It was prime time over in Tempe. So you give that start time, that's a clear advantage to Arizona State in that game. And then you figure out how long that game went. It didn't end until after 2 a.m. back in East Lansing. So, and you could tell Michigan State had the advantage the whole game. And then as they got more worn down, obviously because it's 2 a.m. on their body clocks and it's 10:30 on the Arizona State body clocks, they're going to get the advantage as the game goes on. You saw that. Arizona State ended up stealing that win, and I think you play that on a fair conditions, even at Arizona State, but just give them a decent start time, and I think you have a different result. But either way, it's over. They did lose. Michigan State had an open date last week, so they've had to sit on the Arizona State loss for 2 weeks, and they weren't real thrilled about how they handled Utah State in week 1, and I think all that pent-up anger and aggression will lead to the Spartans getting a dominant road victory in Bloomington this Saturday night. I mean, Indiana's off to a good start, but like many other Power 5 schools, this is their first real test of the season. The Hoosiers do have a decent win over Virginia, but I wouldn't say that the Cavs are anywhere close to being on the same level as Michigan State. Indiana is better than most people thought they would be, but I don't think they can stay within 5 points of a solid Michigan State team. Take Michigan State minus 4.5 at Indiana. And then here we go. This is the last pick I've placed. This one, I got A&M plus 28 at Alabama. Now, I think that line is down to A&M plus 26, so it's more risky now than it was yesterday. But I do not like betting against Alabama, especially at home. But a ranked team like A&M is catching 4 touchdowns. A&M almost beat Clemson. If it weren't for a fumble out the end zone that resulted into a touchback, they very well could have won that game. So I think they lost by 2 points. So are you telling me that Alabama's 26 points better than Clemson? It's very possible that they are. Who knows? But that's just a good SEC team catching 4 touchdowns is just crazy, and you got to take that. Now, on the other hand, Alabama has had no problem covering the absurd spreads they've had so far this season, but Texas A&M is by far the best opponent Alabama's faced this year. And Tua and the Tide have lit up the scoreboard every week. The offense has shown no sign of slowing down anytime soon. But I think honestly, this is the best offense, if not the best overall team that Nick Saban has had so far at Alabama. And taking A&M at plus 28 is not a knock on Bama at all. I think Bama goes undefeated. I think they win the national championship, and I don't even know if they get tested the whole year. I think it's much more likely that they win every game by double digits than somebody beats them this year, because I think this is the best team. At least the best offense, maybe not the best defense, but I would say the best overall team Saban's had at Alabama. Again, I think they go undefeated, don't get tested, but there's a difference between winning by 10, winning by 14, winning by 17, or winning by 4 touchdowns. So I think A&M, Jimbo Fisher will keep his guys within 4 touchdowns, and I think it'll be ugly in a blowout, but golly, 28 points. I'm taking A&M at plus 28 on that one. But either way, this is going to be a game that's going to have a lot of people mad at themselves when it wraps up Saturday night. If Alabama covers the 4 touchdowns, people like me are going to be mad at themselves for betting against Nick Saban at home. But if A&M covers, people all over the country will be mad at themselves for not taking advantage of a good SEC team catching 4 touchdowns, because you won't see that much, maybe not for years after this week. A good SEC team, you'll see SEC teams catching 4 touchdowns, but not of the caliber as A&M. So that's the last pick I got, A&M plus 28. But I kind of have another line that I'm probably not going to do anything with, but it's worth watching. The other day, it was Notre Dame minus 8 at Wake Forest. I think now it's down to Notre Dame minus 7.5 at Wake Forest. I believe this is the 11 a.m. Central Time kick on Saturday. If it somehow gets to 7 or less, I think it may be worth a gamble on Notre Dame, but I probably still wouldn't do it. And here's why. Is Notre Dame even good? Yeah, they beat Michigan on opening night, but is beating Michigan really the determining factor on if a team is good or not? Since hanging on against the Wolverines, Fighting Irish only beat Ball State 24-16, and they struggled to put Vandy away at home. Now, Vanderbilt could be better. I mean, they probably are better than normal. We thought Vandy was better than normal last year, and what happened? They got ran off their own field by Alabama. So, forgive me for not for not giving Notre Dame credit for barely beating a Vanderbilt team on their home field, because good for Vanderbilt is not good for anybody else in the SEC. It's just not. And unless Vandy somehow comes up with a couple of massive wins they shouldn't get this year, I don't think you circle Notre Dame beating Vanderbilt on their home field by like 4 points as a big win for the Fighting Irish. I just don't see it. But Notre Dame is number 8 in the country right now. Shouldn't let you sway your opinion of them, though. The Fighting Irish are always overrated. They always will be overrated. And they're the only team in the country other than maybe USC who could still find themselves in the top 25 with a 2-10 record. So, I don't know if Notre Dame's even good. I kind of don't think they are, but we'll find out. But if I'm so negative about Notre Dame, why would I even consider taking them in their first road game of the season? And the very simple answer to that question is that Wake Forest sucks too. The Demon Deacons are 2-1, but one of their 2 wins came against Towson, and the other came in overtime against Tulane. They got beat at home last Thursday by BC, and while they kept it within 7 points, the score was closer than the game actually was. I'm not going to pick this game with the current line. Probably won't touch it no matter what, but it's worth keeping an eye on. So yeah, Notre Dame -8 at Wake Forest. I'm not touching it. It dropped to -7.5. Who knows what's going to happen? But is Notre Dame even good? I don't think so. I know a lot of Notre Dame fans aren't really going to like that, but that's just the way I see it. Vandy isn't anything to be proud of. Beating Vandy by less than a touchdown on your home field, it's just not. But so we'll run back through what I got. Favorite game, Washington State -3.5 at USC. That line has moved to Washington State +4. I would jump all over that one. Second game, Michigan State -4.5 at Indiana. And then the last one, Texas A&M +28 at Alabama. So those are our picks for this weekend. Let's go 3-0. Good luck. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.